Hello, and welcome back to the Go for Two podcast. I'm Liam, your host, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, who is he's 1 day off or 2 days off Black Friday, so we'll see how well mentally he's doing. Is of course everyone's favorite Eagles fan, Patrick, mate. How you doing?
I'm all right. Yeah, I feel like I've got through the working week quite well. Thanksgiving football tomorrow, innit? So what can we got to argue with that? And I'm furthest away now from the Eagles losing to the Cowboys on Sunday night, which we didn't end up talking about. So I'm okay overall.
Good, I like that. Maybe the Cowboys Eagles game will come up at some point in the pod. Who knows? But yeah, you have done well to avoid a normal review show for that game. We're recording today on Wednesday, so the day before the Thanksgiving games. Slightly different schedule due to my birthday, basically. On Monday, I put my foot down and was the princess of the pod and didn't want to record on my birthday. So we're here on Wednesday to record. It's a few days removed from all the games, so we're not going to go into too much specifically about Week 12. We're going to discuss the biggest storylines in the NFC and the biggest storylines in the AFC, and then we're going to do a holiday preview. So we've got 3 Thanksgiving games and 1 Black Friday game to preview, and then we'll be back on Friday to review the Thanksgiving games at least, and then preview the Sunday slate as well. So that's kind of a bit of a different week for us. But I've got to talk a little bit about Week 12, mate, just because I won 11-8 on our predictions. Gives me a 6-point lead. The games were the Cowboys against the Eagles, the Jags, Cardinals, and the Falcons Saints, the 3 9 p.m. games that have killed it for you. But it is actually our combined strongest week, but 3-point lead for me for this week. It's not looking good for you for the season now.
No, obviously the Eagles was looking great at one point, and I really thought I was going to get that Arizona pick right. I was confident as that was going on, and I thought that was going to be a good one. But the Saints pick they were shocking, to be honest with you.
You can't doubt Kirk Cousins, no matter how bad he looks. He's going to beat
his life.
He was. Yeah, he was. It wasn't a very good game, that either. But yeah, we did pretty well. We both got the Sunday night, Monday night games. We both got the Thursday night football wrong with the Texans beating the Bills. And then, 6 p.m. window, the only one we both got wrong was the Lions game as well. And they did nearly cover, but not quite. So we had a pretty good week. But yeah, you're down 6. Let's just say you need a special Thanksgiving and Black Friday pick coming up soon. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Cool. Let's get on to our storylines then. And we should probably start with the NFC. I think NFC is a stronger conference this year, which is a rarity. Give us your storyline. I think we're going in kind of any order we want. We've got 3 each. So yeah, where do you want to take us first?
Yeah, we're going any order, but you just said it's strongest, so I feel like you got to start at the top, right? And can anybody stop the Rams from getting the 1 seed? To be honest, I think they look like the best team in football. It's rounded out over the last month to that, isn't they? Number 1 overall in DVOA. They haven't trailed, by the way, for 6 full games now.
I know.
That, which is absolutely insane, to be honest with you, to not trail at any point. So Chris Schuler's getting an amazing kind of reputation on defense. What he's done with Emmanuel Forbes, by the way, it was a bit of a bum in Washington, if we're being honest. He now looks like a great cornerback. They've got the Super Bowl favorites now. They've got MVP. They've got a nice schedule to round it off. I don't know, mate. Can anybody catch the Rams? It looking wide, conference record-wise, it can only really be the Eagles with a 7-2 conference record and a head-to-head over the Rams, but feels like 2 teams going in different directions, really. So it's just, open it up with the Rams, and can they be caught?
Yeah, I think it's a good one. It's definitely one of the biggest storylines is how good they've played. I think, probably say Seattle maybe just because they still play them once. And they've got some common opponents as well, obviously being in the same division. But you're right, it's probably more likely Philly because they've already got the tiebreaker. So if they have the same record, Philly would obviously be the 1 seed ahead of them. They don't have the best team. I think the defensive line looks one of the best. The offense looks amazing. Secondary looks like good. And I think the names on paper before the season, we thought they could be bad. So I think just by being a good secondary unit, I think that's the part that Schuler is getting a lot of credit for, isn't it? Is how he's turned a group of average players.
I mean, that to be fair, on paper is below average. The fact that he's got Emmanuel Forbes playing the way he is, maybe it's going to fall off in the playoffs. I don't know, but yeah, it looks a good unit, which is way above expectation.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, they don't spend money on linebacker. Half their corners are kind of reclamation projects, and they're a very good unit. I think in the playoffs, people have some success passing on them, but if their offense is that good, it's just going to be hard for teams to keep up and not have to get into a position where you've got Jared Verse and that crew running after your quarterback 30, 40 times a game, which is where you don't want to be. I think they're interesting, right? Because in the NFC, it feels like a lot of the teams want to run first to then pass, whereas in the AFC, I know Josh Allen's team still run first, but I think in big games, you'll see a lot of passes from, just say they make it, from Burrow, from Lamar, from Josh, from Patrick Mahomes. Maybe not quite the Colts and Bo Nix, but even if it's the Texans, CJ Stroud's going to throw it a lot. Trevor Lawrence is going to throw it a lot. Whereas in the NFC, it feels the other way. But the Rams are almost more built to stop passing teams. So I think in the playoffs, it'll be interesting to see how they cope with teams that want to run it on them. But in the regular season, they're there. They're middle of the schedule, middle of the league for strength of schedule, but that's because they play the Seahawks and the Lions. If you look at the other games, they got Cardinals twice, Panthers and Falcons. So, they're definitely going to have 4 more wins from where they are now. So they're going to have
those 4 wins alone that they will likely get could carry them to the 1 seed anyway.
Yeah. And they're going to get a top 10 pick, I think, from the Falcons.
Yeah. So, yeah.
They're in a great position. And you mentioned it, Stafford is favourite for MVP. So, no, I think that's a great place to start. We're both in lockstep that they are the best team in the NFC, best team in the NFL. Doesn't mean they're going to win it. Or I don't think they're as strong, if you agree with me, that they're not as strong as what the best 1 or 2 teams have been in the NFL, maybe in the last 2 or 3 seasons, but they're definitely the strongest we've got, I think.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you there. To be honest with you, you always see kind of like dream brackets, don't you, from the last 12 Super Bowl winners or whatever, put it there together. I certainly wouldn't be firing the Rams past a lot of those teams at the moment. But, yeah, they're building that way. I mean, Devontae Adams is kind of mind-blowing, really. I saw a stat that his last 9 touchdown catches have all been within 8 yards or less. Like an absolute goal line demon, which is obviously he was great in Green Bay, but his reclamation this year after being in New York with the Jets is been wild to see, really.
Yeah, Puka's playing really well as well. So they're in a really strong position. I think we're in lockstep that they are going to be our 1 seed in the NFC. What do we want to do? Stay on NFC, or do you want me to give one?
No, let's flip over. Let's go AFC.
I probably should have a 1 seed. Should I have a 1 seed one? I haven't even got a 1 seed one of who's going to be the 1 seed in the AFC. But I'm not. We'll talk in a minute if that matters. But I'm going somewhere else. Very fitting after this week. I'm going with who will win the AFC South. Now the Colts have been a 1 seed for most of the year, or 1 or 2 seed for most of the season. Obviously they're in a good position. That they probably outkicked their coverage in terms of what people thought, but they did lose this week to the Chiefs. They're 8-3. But the fascinating part is the Jags are 7-4, not playing that well, but they are 7-4, and they have some good AFC tiebreakers. And they have the easiest schedule left of these 3 teams. The Texans, a team me and you think are underrated. Love the defense. I think the offense is better than people think. I just think they've been injured. Nico Collins was injured at one point. The center was injured next. The center and Nico Collins come back. CJ Stroud goes out injured. I think the offense is not great, but it's good. I think it's fine to good. And I think the defense is the best in the NFL. And I think the main talking point in this is they all play each other. The Colts have got one of the hardest schedules left. They're second in the NFL for strength of schedule in terms of difficulty. They've got to play the Seahawks. They've got to play the Texans twice, the Jags twice, and the 49ers. That's a lot of difficult games. Obviously, the Jags have got one of the easiest schedules, but they also play, like I just mentioned, obviously, they play the Colts twice. So they've got a chance there to catch up wins. The Texans have also got a pretty difficult schedule compared to Jacksonville. I'm trying to find who they play now. They're difficult. They've got to play the Colts twice, the Chargers, and the Chiefs. So even getting in the playoffs, they've got 2 wildcard games there and the Colts. So my talking point is, who the hell is going to win this division? Everyone said it was the Colts. I had the Colts 3rd before the year. I think you had the Colts 3rd before the year. I think it's going to be closer than maybe everyone thought 3 weeks ago.
You did say to me off air, could you lead with this as your top story? I actually think this is a great division this year. You're just going off the records. And like I said, Houston, so underrated. But now, totally coming round to the idea, I still don't think that this team is good, by the way. But Jacksonville play the Titans twice and the Jets. You win those 3 games and you pick up a game against the Colts or the Broncos, which is the other game left, you're probably going to win the division and get a home playoff game. Now, the way that the seeding's going to work for those is Jacksonville probably can only get 10 or 11 wins. So 3rd seed at best is at play. And that is likely to be a really, really difficult game. Chiefs or Bills is most probable, right? It's like, what is the reward? And it turns out that the South now could only have 1 playoff team as well, because obviously we've got the Chiefs lurking. The Texans feel like they're going to need to win the division to get in, unless they kind of beat the Chiefs and run the table that way. But what a division, mate. It was, I felt, obviously we're not really speaking much about last week's games, but I did feel for Indianapolis a little bit in that game. I think in the second half, the naivety of playing in big games was apparent, because I thought it was a beatdown in the second half in terms of just play calling. And when Indianapolis were on offense, they felt like they were feeling the pressure. And in overtime, it felt inevitable, to be honest, especially when they took the ball first. I just felt like that was a big mistake. But yeah, just so overall,
everything felt rushed, I'd say.
Yeah. I just think, and then you got the schedule that the Colts have got, and Daniel Jones played well in the first half against the Chiefs, but just everything felt like it was going downhill in the second half. But it's a great division, but I don't want to say I'm leaning towards Jacksonville, but the schedule is there for them to do it.
Yeah. And it's funny, because this is the whole point of why this is an interesting story, is I think I might be leaning the Texans.
Yeah.
Like, I do generally think the Texans, they've got the Cardinals and the Raiders as their easier games.
Yeah.
I think they'll win those games. This Chargers offensive line against that defensive line, they should be favored for that game. So they should win 3. So that gets them to 9. Now, all they probably have to do is beat the Colts twice. And I know that's hard, right? To beat the Colts twice is hard. But that's why I'm thinking, like, that's why I'm favoring them, is because the way they're set up, with how good that defense is, I think they would cause Daniel Jones problems in 2 games. And then they've got that game against the Chiefs in the middle, where they're also perfectly set up to cause that offense problems, because they're a man coverage team. They've got 2 good pass rushers on the edge. They can just line them up all game against 2 tackles. One's good, one's not, obviously not as good on the right side for the Chiefs. But they're almost perfectly set up to beat the Chargers and the Chiefs. And then the other games, again, if they lose to the Colts twice, they're obviously screwed. But I just think the defense is set up there. So yeah, I think in some form, I don't know how it works out. Let me check week 18. If
Colts,
I just feel like that's going to be. It's either going to be right if the Texans win and the Jags win the division, or the Texans win the division. I just feel like it's going to be that close. Which 2 weeks ago, everyone said this is one of the best offenses ever in the history of the NFL, and they're going to be the 1 seed. And now they might be the. I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs, the Colts, but they might be the 7 seed, 6 seed.
They're going to have to beat a couple of good football teams along the way, aren't they? They certainly have to win the Jags games, because, like you said, then they go in the NFC West, Seahawks 49ers in back-to-back weeks. Difficult games against playoff teams. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous, the schedule there. They've got to win the Jags games. Colts, Texans in Indianapolis this Sunday is, game of the week, right? In terms of the Sunday slate, at least.
Yeah, it's super, super exciting game. I'm looking forward to it. You had the Texans to win the division, I think, and I had the Jags. So we're still in there. We're still in there with a chance.
By the way, Davis Mills has gone 3-0 as the quarterback coming in relief. Just show you a value of the backup quarterback, doesn't it? He's probably not a starter in the NFL, but really valuable backup quarterback.
Yeah, and good coaching, I think. That's what good coaching, they've been clever, run the ball, be aggressive on defense, aggressive on 4th down, aggressive on special teams, not put too much on his plate, and they've won games. So yeah, it's been impressive. I like I think the Jags are a bit of a mess. I don't want to go too much into all 3 of these. The Jags are a bit of a mess. Schedule just dictates, with a good head coach for me, that they'll win some of these games and they'll keep it interesting. We shall see. Back to you on the NFC then. What's your next storyline?
I'm going to leave what I think is the better one until that. I'm also going. I'm avoiding Philadelphia, by the way. If you've not noticed, I'm absolutely sick to the back teeth of it, or of listening to everything about the Eagles. So we're not going Philadelphia. We're going, sadly, to the NFC South. And my question is, can the Buccaneers find their way again? Highly likely. Like you said last week, I think you said they were on something like 88%.
Because their schedule, yeah.
Yeah, because of the schedule to make the playoffs, Lee. The Panthers Monday night got what you wanted on defense, the takeaways. They had multiple takeaways of Brock Purdy, 3 interceptions in the first half. They're just not quite there to get over the line, the Panthers. So it's like the Bucs, barring a collapse, are going to win that division. They're going to have the 4th seed, and they're going to have a home playoff game against a really tough team. Is there anything that they can kind of do, really? You know, they're still 15th overall in DVOA, but that's coming from early in the season now. You know, all that has kind of gone. They're not that healthy. You know, obviously now Baker's got a bit of an injury, but it looks like he's probably going to play, and just the defense isn't doing that well, getting blown out. It's just, you don't want to see a waste to a home playoff game, because that's when people start complaining that a team like maybe Dallas won't make it over a Tampa Bay. But, you know, they're first in strength of schedule. They're going to be there.
Yeah, 100%. They've had, that's one of the reasons why they're so high on DVOA, is because they had such a hard schedule as well. So they performed average in games against really good teams. So that boosts your score up a little bit, because that takes into that account. Yeah, you're right. It's an interesting one. A little fun caveat that I was thinking about, and I heard someone else talking about. It might have been Bill Simmons. So you've probably already heard this rhetoric, but they're 55-1, I think, at the moment. But the Falcons are 2 games back from the division at the moment. Baker Mayfield is hurt. Now, I thought he was going to miss this week. Sounds like he might play, but he is still hurt. The schedule for all these teams are easy. You know, I think the Bucs play the Saints, Cardinals, Dolphins, Falcons, Panthers twice, right? So they should win the division. But the Falcons play the Saints, Jets, Cardinals, and Bucs. If they won all 4 of those games, and definitely the Bucs and Cardinals game, Saints games, sorry, you know, they're going to be, with 2 weeks to go, 3 weeks to go, in with a chance. I don't think the Panthers can. The Panthers have got a really hard schedule. They've got to play the Rams, Seahawks, Bucs twice, and Saints. But I guess if they beat the Bucs twice, they might be in. But I just think, is there any chance the Falcons can be there? I think both of those teams have to play Seattle and LA, which is the red flag. Any chance the Falcons, with Kirk Cousins leading the charge, can make it interesting in week 17, 18?
Yes. And it all depends on what happens with Baker, right? And if that is worse, or he plays this week and it gets worse. Because did you see Teddy Bridgewater in relief of Baker?
Yeah,
played. Yeah, I mean, as bad gets. I mean, he's been a high school football coach. I'm not quite sure why he just doesn't stick to that now, because he just does not look ready to play in the NFL anymore. And that is an unfortunate place to be in now. With, you know, we just talked about Davis Mills, the backup, and he's driving them to the playoffs, on the cusp of the playoffs. And it's like, when you're leading the division now, you're kind of looking at the man behind you, and it's not looking good, is it? If you were to tell me that Baker was out for the next 4 weeks, I'd be all in on Atlanta, because it's just the schedule's there, and maybe Kirk Cousins, you'd trust him slightly more, wouldn't you? But it's worrying, really, for the Bucs. They had a really strong start to the season, and they have. Remember when they beat Seattle? I can't remember what, maybe like week 6 or something in the shootout, and then they beat the 49ers the week later. God, that feels like last season. You know, it's just they've lost 4 on the bounce since then against good teams. But I mean, what can you say? It feels worrying, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it does. It does. Teddy was bad, wasn't he? Really bad.
Oh, it's bad. Really bad.
Yeah, it didn't look like an NFL player, unfortunately, for him in that sense. Yeah, we'll see. Baker will gut it out. That's the type of player he is, but it's just been a difficult season for them, hasn't it? They've actually won more games, and they started so well, and he was up for MVP discussions. If you look at it, I know the 49ers have had a lot, but they're up there for like disaster season through injuries. Like, it's just constant for the Bucs. We'll see. Yeah, could we put Dallas in instead of one of these teams? That'd be great.
If you could have a wild card and you could press a button and swap it out one season, this feels like the season to do that, right? Because the 5th seed in the NFC is going to be a very good team.
And the 6th, probably.
Yeah, and the 6th, definitely.
Yeah.
And possibly the 7th. It's a strong conference. It's top heavy, but it's going to be tough.
It's top heavy, yeah. And the South are just there lingering. Cool. On to my next one then. I've changed it. I think you're going to like this one. A certain man has a very famous record about how many winning seasons he's had, and he may be at risk of this. So my storyline is Mike Tomlin going to lose that record of having winning seasons and not having a losing season in Pittsburgh, because they lost again this week? They're 6-5 now. As we predicted, the Ravens are officially the division leaders. In terms of strength of schedule, the Ravens aren't playing very well either, which is a bit of a red flag for them. But they're 11th in the NFL in terms of having a difficult schedule because they play the Patriots and the Packers. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are right behind them. They play the Ravens twice, the Lions and the Bills. And they play the Browns, who they always beat, and the Dolphins, who they should beat, unless Mason Rudolph is playing quarterback, basically. But Tomlin's got some difficult games there. To have his record, he's got to win what? Hasn't he got to win, what's he on now? 6 wins? So they've got to win 3 games. They're probably going to win 2, but then that means they have to beat one of, the Ravens, the Lions, and the Bills. And I just don't see it right now. And there's the added element that they want to be a playoff team as well. And I think at the moment, I was talking to, just from a Chiefs perspective, it was like the Chargers and Steelers are the teams I'm like thinking are going to drop out. And then you've got to beat one of the AFC South teams to get in the playoffs. I'm worried about that record for Tomlin, what it means for next year. And they just don't like a playoff team to me anymore.
No, I think the Rodgers injury has come at a terrible time. I think he's apparently going to play this week, or
it needs to, because Rudolph was worse than Teddy Two Gloves.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, was it? It was a fun game against Chicago, I'll say that, but it just didn't feel like two great playoff football teams. I know that, but it's a tough schedule. To answer your question, somehow I think he's going to do it, and I think they'll get 3 wins out of that. I don't know whether that means the playoffs. I don't think it will. I don't think we'll miss them being in the playoffs, certainly. No. I think with the Chiefs and Bills being most likely wild card teams, feels like the most exciting that we could actually get, instead of flipping it around and them having home games. But they've not got a quarterback for next year. I mean, surely they're not. Rodgers is not. What is even his contract? Is it a 1 or a 2-year deal?
It's a 1-year deal, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, what are you going to do next season? It feels like a good time if I'm in Pittsburgh for a divorce. We've said it before, like sometimes the same voice can get old after a really long time. The franchise doesn't feel like it's going places very fast at all, does it? So it'd be a great pickup for someone else down the line, like Andy Reid was to Kansas City. But yeah, I think he may just do it, but the Steelers feel like they're going nowhere fast. The last week was so fun. That was probably their most fun game to watch of the season, because you don't know what's going to happen in the Chicago Bears game. And I think it was more down to the Bears than it was the Steelers actually having a fun football game.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. Where do you think he's still a fit for another team? Like if he was the Giants head coach next year, and you going into a division where he's now your rival, would you worry about stuff like that, or you think he's just past it, a la Bill Belichick?
No, I don't think he's past it, because I think he's young enough. I think he'd be great on TV for a year if he wanted to wait and take a fun job, because it feels like he would deserve to get a good job, right? I mean, he's never had a losing record after all, but it feels just like going nowhere fast. I mean, he'd be an incredible Giants head coach. You know what you're going to get from Pittsburgh, and it's a difficult game in the division each season, right? So, but I feel like it could come to that. New head coach, new quarterback, obviously. They're not in a great place in the draft again, though. They're not historically an aggressive trader at all, are they? So we saw that with Kenny Pickett when they picked him in the first round, and what a disaster that was. So it's just, interesting team. I think he might get his winning record. Don't think they're going to make the playoffs, though.
No, the Ravens might luck out from a poor division this year, to be honest, in that regard. Back to the NFC then. What's your last storyline?
Last storyline. Obviously, I went Rams as the 1 seed. I've gone the Bucs. I think the biggest storyline is the NFC North battle. between the Packers, the Lions, and the current leader, the Chicago Bears. You're talking Packers are number one the rest of the season in strength of schedule. The Bears are three, the Lions are four. They all play each other.
Yeah.
And then the Packers are sixth in DVOA. The Lions are fourth. However, the division leader, the Bears, are 22nd. And the Bears are going to have to beat some good teams now to make the playoffs. They're currently leading. They can beat Philadelphia for sure on Friday. They're probably looking at their schedule and how the division is, have to beat the Eagles if they want to make the playoffs. It's just that division is coming down. I mean, what a treat we've got tomorrow. Thanksgiving at 6 p.m. with Packers and Lions. It's just the scheduling from the gods that it's kind of worked out like this, and just it's going to be a great finish, to be honest, isn't it? And probably the Vikings are looking from the outside with a lot of distress, to be honest.
Yeah, it's crazy how hard all their schedules are. So they've got to play, if you ignore each other, between them, they've got to play the Ravens, the Broncos, they've got to play the 49ers, the Eagles, they've got to play the Rams, the Cowboys, the Steelers. There's some big games in the NFL.
Ridiculous game. There's no off weeks apart from maybe if you're going to play JJ McCarthy. And then the Vikings defense is still kind of a good unit. So there's not going to be an off week at all.
How many of them do you think make the playoffs as of now?
If the Bears can win a couple of games that you're not expecting, including against Philadelphia, 3 can make it. But I think it's probably going to be 2.
Yeah, it's the 49ers, isn't it, as the team that they'd have to surpass, basically. And they've got 8 wins. Lions and Packers have got 7. And what, the Bears have got 8? Have they got 8? Yeah, they've got 8. So it's the 49ers is the team they've got to catch, really. And then the 49ers schedule, wasn't it really easy, if I remember right, or easier?
Yeah, 49ers is looking nice, to be honest, yeah. Their play wasn't nice on Monday. However, the schedule is nice and they'll likely do it.
Feels like if they beat the Bears, the 49ers, they're going to get in. Because they've got the Bears, Titans, and Browns. If they win those 3 games, they've got 11. They'll have, what, they have 11 wins? They would have 11 wins, and they'd have the tiebreaker over the Bears. So it feels like if they win those 3 games, then they've got it. And then they play the Colts and the Seahawks, which would just be 3 hits for seeding at that point. But yeah, the North's a fun battle. Feels like every year we say this. Maybe not the Bears. The Bears are excited to be around and be in the conversation. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this goes. I weirdly think the Lions, who are the third out of them, are playing the best. Does that mean is that wrong? Do you think that take?
I don't think it's wrong, and I also think that they have the ability to. I mean, they're sitting outside the playoffs at the moment, aren't they? They also have the ability to the highest ceiling, I would say, especially offensively, and I think that would take you a long way. I mean, by the way, the Lions, they go this week, obviously tomorrow, the Packers. Next Thursday, the Cowboys at home, which is a ridiculously good game now. And then they go to the Rams after that. And just what a trip. I mean, theoretically, the Lions could be 7-7 sat here in a couple of weeks' time. So it's just, I trust the Lions the most, I think. Obviously, the Bears are the wild card, right? And Caleb Williams is just, the play's going to be up and down. But yeah, what a division, The Bears will just be happy to be there. However, when you are here in week 13 on top of your division, it's not enough then, is it, to just be happy to be there? You want to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, you want to. Yeah. Feels like if they beat the Eagles, they got a great chance. But if they don't, they've got to beat some division rivals once or twice at least. Once at least, yeah, ideally twice in the Packers case. Yeah, we'll see. It's a fun division for sure. On to my last AFC storyline then. I've combined my 2 and 3 because I had to get the Tomlin one in there. So my last one was going to be, and lead us into Thanksgiving, will the Chiefs make or miss the playoffs is a big storyline. But I'm combining that with, and if they do make it, could this be the strongest wild card versus division winner? Do you know what I mean? Like the bottom 3 seeds in the AFC could be stronger than the top 3 seeds in the AFC. I think the playoffs in the NFC are interesting because there's so many good teams. In the AFC, I think they're so interesting because we're going to get some crazy matchups. But for the wild card to be strong, the Chiefs have to make the playoffs. They're currently out of the playoffs. They're not even just out of it. They're like the 10th seed, technically. They actually lost the seed by winning. But I think the AFC South part makes it interesting because we think there's a chance the Colts could slide a bit, and they've got the tiebreaker over the Colts, and then they could have the tiebreak over the Texans, but they don't over the Jags. And if they win all their games, they're obviously in. But a team that's 10th at the moment has shown you through history they're probably not going to win every single game. So which is the game they lose? Is it a NFC game or is it a Texans game that then changes things? So for me, I find that, obviously I'm biased being that fan, but even if I was a neutral, I'd be like, I either hate the Chiefs and want them out, or you'd be thinking, God, we could have Josh Allen in there. We could have Lamar as a low division winner seed just because the Steelers suck. We could have Mahomes in there, and we could have CJ Stroud, who arguably is better than Daniel Jones, Bo Nix, your other options that are higher in that seed. So yeah, and we've got the Patriots that are a brand new team in terms of they've not done it before with this group. So it's like that them at home against Josh Allen, or them at home against Lamar in round 2, or them home against Mahomes in round 1. Any of those games are mad to think about. Yeah, go wherever you want really on either the general how the AFC playoffs are going to look, or the will the Chiefs make the playoffs bit, whatever you want to start with first.
Let's just start with the first. I'll go to the second question first. You said, is that the best wild card slate ever? Yeah, it has to be. It feels like last year's college football playoff, where all the top teams were kind of behind, like the group of 5 winner who came fourth. And it was like, wow, you're getting a bye got you Ohio State or whatever in the second round. And it's like, wow, what a treat that is to get a bye through the first week. We've got to play the best team in football now. But it just, ridiculous slate. Because if you go Josh Allen and Mahomes, 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, going to be in the wild card for the first time ever. You could also have the Texans, who have got the best defense, I think, in football. What a horrible to win your division for a Denver, for a New England, when you've not been here before. You've got second-year quarterbacks. What a stitch-up that is, to be honest with you. It's just like you'd be furious, to be honest. But it's going to make for a really, really interesting playoff. Now, going to your first question, will the Chiefs make the playoffs? I think a big issue that the Chiefs have got is the conference record is in the negatives. Mm-hmm. It's 3-4. So that then leads to got to beat Houston for the tiebreaker. The only thing that you got it over is the Colts, and the Colts have 2 more wins at the moment with the difficult schedule that we've spoken about. So that for me would be a big red flag about that. So you've got to kind of run the table more, and we go in maybe the best Thanksgiving. I went, by the way, earlier on my lunch break, I looked at the Thanksgiving games from like the last 12 years, and there's not been a Cowboys game. It's usually like the Giants or
Commanders,
or Washington in some form. And this year, it's worked out that the Chiefs aren't 10-1. It's 6-5, and it's like, wow, they've got to win this game. But then Dallas beat the Eagles, and they're like, why not us? Why can't we sneak in there with a high-powered offense? So what a game that is tomorrow. It's the best I can remember for a while. Then they play Houston, Sunday Night Football, the Chiefs next week. Then the Chargers, who were sat in the playoffs, ridiculous game. At Tennessee is easy-ish. Cam Ward's all the
sudden. Easy, yeah.
Cam Ward. Chimere DK, by the way, looks like the best returner since Devin Hester all of a sudden. Yeah. Then they go Denver at home on Christmas Day on Thursday night. Denver might be looking to wrap up the 1 seed, wrap up the division, and you finish at the Raiders. The schedule is there. You have to win every game that is labelled a must-win now, right? It's Cowboys, Texans, Chargers. They have to be wins, and Denver has to be a win to even stand a chance there. So feel like the Chiefs nearly have to run the table with the conference record that it is. They can swing the record round because they've got 5 conference teams left. But, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be really, really close. And I think they'll still need to beat the Raiders the last week, which is unusual to say about Kansas City, right?
Yeah, I think if you're them, you take it where guarantee win you're in.
Yeah,
like in the last week, we don't have to rely on another result, right? I think that would be it. Let's play a quick game. They're 6-5. They've got 6 games left. If they win all 6 games, what seed do you think they will be roughly? And the lowest anyone's ever had since there's been 7 playoffs teams. The 7 seed has had 10 every year since they've had 7. When they used to have 6, the bottom seed, the 6 seed used to have 11 on average. They've had one 7 seed have 11. That was in the NFC. Every other has had 10. So if the Chiefs were 12 and 6 in a bit of a weirder year, do you think there's 100% they're in, no matter what? It doesn't really matter about the conference because they're in just because they got 12 wins.
Yeah, 100% in. And I think the seed would. I've just had a quick look at Buffalo, who obviously have the tiebreaker, and I'd go the Chiefs would be the 6th seed.
Yeah.
And then they'd play the 3rd seed in the first round, which is likely to be the AFC South team. Or if Baltimore run the table, it could be Mahomes, Lamar first round.
It could be,
yeah.
And then let's drop down 2. If they win only 4 games, but one of those is the Texans game, is one of the 4. They then got 10 wins, which would normally get you in, but they've lost to a lot of the teams around them. But they have beat the Colts and Texans in this scenario. Would you then be like, oh, that will literally just depend on who the 8th seed is? Is it the Jags or is it the Colts or whoever, for example? Or would you say
because if you go in, Kansas City has 10 wins. I think Jacksonville can get 3, putting them on 10 wins. They have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. I think the Bills can get 3 wins, having the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. And now I'm looking at the Chargers and what would happen.
Yeah, you'd have to beat the Chargers as one of the games you win.
To beat the Chargers in one of those games. Otherwise, it's kind of good night. Okay. It's not happening. Yeah, it's absolutely.
Doesn't it just feel like it's going to fall exactly in the middle of those two, though? Where 10 wins, you're like, they probably can't get in with 10 wins.
Yeah.
Because they've lost to all the teams. With 12, there's no way 7 teams are getting 12 or more wins ahead of the Chiefs. But it feels like it's going to fall bang on 11. It just feels like it's going to fall on 11, and then week 18 they're going to have to win to make it 11 and hope either they're in or they need someone to lose. Yeah, because 11 worries me. I think if they win every game, which they can do, they're in. So that should be their goal. We're going to win every game and we're in the playoffs. But I think history shows you they're going to lose to one of these 6 games. You know,
I think the game to lose is Dallas because it wouldn't affect the conference record. Because it's that worries me over it. Because everybody else is really positive. Like Chargers 6-2 in the conference with a current tiebreaker over Kansas City.
Yeah. The South one's the interesting one, isn't it? Because they all play each other.
Yeah.
Some of those records are going to have to get worse, just naturally. Yeah. But you're right. The Bills. I don't know what the Jags is, but the Bills and the Chargers have got really strong conference records.
Yeah. Jags is 4-2 in the conference.
Yeah. There we go. Well, hopefully we get some fun ones. My worry about the Chiefs losing to the Cowboys would be the momentum around that. Is like they've just got back on a high, and then you lose. And if anyone loses to the Cowboys, they're probably conceding loads of points, and it's just a bit of a red flag. But we'll talk about that game. Talk about that game in a second. Cool. That's it. Some good storylines there. Hopefully we don't get the Falcons winning the division. Hopefully we do get the Chiefs in the playoffs for bias reasons, and we have a fun 14 team.
I think overall, I spoke through all of those. When you look at, we think maybe the Rams are the best team. They've not been the consensus best team all season. So it's like having that kind of parity has made the end of the season really unpredictable. And obviously with that brings excitement. Like there's no way, like we just spoke through, if the Chiefs run the table and win all, still not 100% guarantee. And they likely wouldn't be playing a home playoff game still. They're winning, they're running the table to still go on the road. So for me, it's just, so exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And for the Lions, the Chiefs, and the Texans, who we like at least, and not everyone does, those three teams need to fall out. So someone like, it's not just one team. Like if we obviously I want the Chiefs in. And if we both think the Texans should be in, because we seem to like them more than most pods I listen to, you need 2 teams to go. And I think the Chargers are one of these red flag teams. The Bears are one of these red flag teams. And then it's the Jags with one of the easiest schedules in football. So it just, I think week 17 and 18 could be much better than they've been in the last 3 or 4 seasons. Cool. On to Thanksgiving then. Something we keep kind of mentioned in the episode about how good this slate is, but it is really, really good. So we're going to pick the 4 games, so the 3 Thanksgiving games and the Black Friday games against the spread today, and preview, to be honest, probably preview all 4 in varying degrees, depending on how good they are. And we're going to go in chronological order, and we're going to go to Detroit first. Is this 5 or 6 in England?
It's 6 p.m. It's always been 5:30 p.m. kickoff, but it's moved to 6 this year.
Okay, 6 p.m. In Detroit, as always, we've got the Packers at Lions. Lions are favored at home by 2.5 points, so they are the favored over Green Bay. Obviously, Green Bay are currently in the playoffs, and the Lions aren't. Jordan Love is very high on everyone's statistical ratings, but the offense is run first, very up and down, big play, no play, feels like. The defense has actually played probably better than people have thought, but they've lost some weird games. The Lions have had that weird stretch in the middle of the season, but now Dan Campbell's calling plays, things got better, and then they only narrowly beat the Giants. So I say all that to ask, what the hell is this game going to look like between these two teams? I think last year I knew what this game would look like. It would be high scoring. The Packers would have to throw it a lot. The Lions would probably try and run it a lot, and the Lions would probably win by field goal to a touchdown. This year, what the hell is the game going to look like?
Yeah, because I wasn't particularly, I don't want to sound like a broken record, I wasn't particularly impressed with the Packers win over the Vikings, to be honest with you. I think Vikings have a lot of deficiencies and it's all kind of falling apart now, isn't it? But, I just, like I said earlier, I bless the schedule makers. I think the problem is I don't know Josh Jacobs' evaluation for the game. If he's not playing, the 1-2 punch with Emmanuel Wilson is not there at all. There's no one behind Will. Wilson had a good game, by the way, last week. His averages was below 4. However, he was the best. He had 30 touches, I think, including a couple of catches. So it was just that kind of is there, but you're missing that from Jacobs more, the home run ball. And I think that, for me, feels like a pivotal thing. It's going to be kind of a running battle between both, isn't it? And then who gets their downfield shots. The line, moving on to the Lions' offensive line, as Goff has been moving, I mean, in the Philadelphia game especially, but even in the New York game last week, he was under a lot of pressure. And that line is kind of leaking more than it has. And that will be the recipe for the Packers on defense, right? To get some, you turn over Detroit and they're nowhere near as great a football team as they have been the last couple of years. So for me, it's if they can win on that line, the Packers, I think they've got a great chance.
Yeah, both these teams are giving up more pressure than they have historically. The Packers' offensive line have not played well this season and given up big pressure rates. And is it? I can't remember his name now. I think it's Kelvin Benjamin, but that's the wide receiver. Kelvin Shepherd, the DC of the Lions, is blitzing a lot more than the previous DC, and their defense is playing well. And the Lions, like you just mentioned, are giving up more pressure. So it feels like this is going to be a game where, on big third downs, look out for the team that can get pressure on the quarterback to try and win the matchup. It seems that might be where the game's won and lost. I think the other part as well is if Goff's played great, but I'd still fancy Jordan Love to evade a sack and make a big play on a throw than I would Goff. So is that going to be the key, that on 3rd and 10, Love avoids a sack and throws it 15 yards to Christian Watson, whereas Jared Goff takes the sack and they punt and they move on to the next down? I think that could be quite key. And then the head coaches as well. Dan Campbell, a broken record again, like you mentioned earlier, but 4th downs, very aggressive, knows how to coach, knows big moments, knows leverages. Matt LaFleur, very famous in big moments for not making those right decisions in the playoffs more than the regular season. I think it's that 3rd down pressure on the quarterback, and does Matt LaFleur go a bit more aggressive to try and keep up with Dan Campbell? I think they're going to be keys to this game, because it feels like if the Lions lose this game, it does have a big hindrance on their playoff hopes.
It does. It really helps Chicago if the Lions are to lose this game. The Packers tie is so annoying with the Cowboys just sat in that schedule in the standings like that. It's actually so annoying. Should make them play just for 5 minutes to see who can get through first. Yeah, the way it's set up, Lions for me can't lose this game. I think it's really pivotal in their season. We're coming up then with Dallas and the Rams coming straight after that. We're in must-win territory, to be fair, aren't we? Because the way that the Lions are built, and obviously through the trade with Stafford, and they got Goff, and they got the first, and they've used everything so well, you have to make playoffs on that. My God, you can't miss the playoffs and think that your franchise is still kind of moving forward and not plateauing. So feels like a must-win, to be honest, for Detroit.
Yeah, it does. It does. Cool. Let's pick it. It's me to go first because I won last week. I don't even know who I want to win this game. I feel like I might just pick that for everyone, who I want to win the game. Let's go with... I'm going to go with the Packers plus 2.5, I think. I think Jordan Love is playing really well at the moment. I think the offense is a bit all over the place because they how much they run it versus how much they pass it. But I think in a game like this, where I think the Lions will score points, I think we'll see an aggressive Packers offense. I think it'll be close, but I'll go with the plus points and say the Packers just about win the game. But if they lose by 1 or 2, I still get this bet. So I'll go Packers plus 2.5.
I'm joining you. I'm going to join you on that. And I think if the Packers do it, I don't think the Lions are going to make the playoffs.
That's crazy. These are your two enemies, by the way. Dan Campbell was your first enemy on the pod, and now the whole of Green Bay, Wisconsin is your new enemy. So there we go. Interesting place for you to be on in this week. Next game, then, going to be the most watched regular season game in NFL history. I keep hearing about it is, of course, the Chiefs at the Cowboys in Dallas. Friend of the pod, who listens and is part of the 410 Yards Network. Tim, he is at this game as a Dallas fan, which is pretty exciting. The Chiefs are favored on the road by 3 points. So they're favored by 3.5 at home to the Colts, and they're favored by 3 points on the road to the Cowboys. I don't actually need to ask you what this game's going to look like because this is going to be points.
Yeah.
The Cowboys only playing games where there's points. The Chiefs' offense is still second, by the way, in the NFL in EPA per play, EPA per drop back, DVOA. I know it looks a bit a bit ugly, but they also had the most first downs in an NFL game in like 10 years last week, and 33 first downs. The Colts like 10 or 13.
Yeah.
So like they are better than people realize on offense, but they're better in games where teams play zone coverage. Which team in the NFC plays the second most zone coverage is the Dallas Cowboys. So I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think the Lions Packers will be as well, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was 2017 and it was a bit of a weirder game with long drives and failed fourth downs. Whereas this game, I feel like whoever's winning this game has to score 30 points. That's just my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think last week, obviously, the Chiefs, no issue in moving the ball. I thought that was the best they'd looked all season, to be honest. In the red zone, I think there was still some issues, wasn't there?
Definitely, yeah.
Let's see whether they're there against Dallas. I think that Dallas, without going into last Sunday's game too much, fortuitous. They can build on that, though. Dak was good. He also had a terrible interception dropped. But all you can do is win the game. I saw something with Schottenheimer about winning the game in the fourth quarter, and the team looks to be right behind him. They probably know that they're missing a couple of pieces overall on defense, and the offensive line is not quite as good as it has been in the last few years. Obviously, they've had a couple of retirement in there, but yeah, this is such an exciting game. To be honest with you, I never thought that George Pickens would make CeeDee Lamb look like an average receiver, because Lamb, to be honest, Lamb has had a really disappointing season, by the way. When you drop down into that, the drops, it's almost like he's feeling the pressure of having an elite teammate, to be honest with you. Pickens is only 24 years old as well. He's a divisive character, but he's behaved himself in Dallas, hasn't he, this season? And it's been, I mean, despite it being an enemy of the Eagles, of course, it is like one of the most fun connections in the NFL, right? Him and Dak. And if he can get a stat line like he did do kind of last week and like he has done this season, I do think Dallas can win this game, but I'm not convinced overall on the Cowboys. I've seen them lose some stupid games this season. The beatdown by the Cardinals in Dallas makes me worried for seeing what the Chiefs look like against the Colts, to be honest with you, as far as Dallas winning this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Cowboys can win this game. 100% they can. And it's annoying. Anyone listening to this pod and did our draft pods, I love George Pickens. I had him number 1 wide receiver in that draft class. I wanted the Chiefs to trade for him twice. They didn't do it. I think they'll probably put Jalen Watson on him, not Trent McDuffie. But if they put Trent McDuffie on him, even though I think Trent McDuffie's a great player, the way that Pickens plays in terms of just mossing people and just hitting people, he's gonna enjoy playing against a 5'11" corner, a 5'10", whatever Trent is. So yeah, I think the Cowboys will score. It'll just be, will you get that random Dak interception that he does throw, because he is very aggressive down the field? Will you get that? Will you get a random fumble? Will you get, the coach is not very good at decision making, to be honest. We haven't spoken about that because they've had a weird season off the field. Jerry's not great. As a head coach, he's done way better than everyone thinks. As a play caller, he's done really well in terms of overall offense. But their fourth down rate's not good. Their when to kick a field goal is not good. Their red zone, when to run, when to pass rate has not been good. That happened against the Eagles last week as well with the failed red zone. So we'll see. But one thing they are good at with Quinn Williams, they stop the run. So anyone watching this game, you're not seeing the Kansas City Chiefs run the ball successfully. You're seeing Patrick Mahomes drop back 40 to 50 times. And if that's what you like to see on Thanksgiving against Jerry. Also, he's a Dallas Cowboys fan, never played in Texas for the Chiefs. Look out for Tony Romo mentioning that 500 times.
Oh, don't tell me it's Romo on the call.
It's Romo. We've got Tom Brady.
I found a little bit insufferable in that Colts game, to be honest with you, last week. But I can't believe it's Romo. What's Brady on? 6 p.m.?
6 p.m., yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got the NBC game, haven't you, with Collinsworth after that we're going to talk about. But yeah, no, it is Romo. It wasn't great last week, but it is Romo. It's you to pick first. Chiefs -3 on the road. Where are we going?
I'm going to Chiefs, I think. I just trust it. I've just seen too much out of Dallas to not take that last week was the coming of the Dallas Cowboys, to be honest. So I'm going Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm going Chiefs as well. Watch out for the first 2 Chiefs drives on this game. If they're moving it and it looks good, they'll be fine. If they're not, Dak can score enough points to beat them. So we'll see. Sunday Night Football, then. We've got a spicy return to make this game more interesting. Sunday Night Football. Thursday Night Football. Bengals at the Ravens. Joe Burrow is officially back. And the Ravens are favored at home by 7 points. Last week, when everyone thought he was going to play, and then he did the line move by about 4. So in theory, if this was Flacco, it would be Ravens by 10.5-ish, which is probably what it would have been. But yeah, Ravens by 7. Now, the Bengals lost last week, so we haven't got the interesting storyline, but they obviously think there's a chance that they could sneak into the playoffs. Joe Burrow mentioned like what competitor isn't going to try and come back. So regardless of if they can make it or not, he's going to try and play his best. T. Higgins is out. Jamar Chase is back from his suspension. The Ravens' offense has not been good since Lamar has been back. I don't think he's thrown a touchdown in 2 games, I think I read. So I don't really know what this game is going to look like. Previous Bengals-Ravens games between these 2 quarterbacks have been like 43-40, 36-33. I don't know if the Ravens are playing that way at the moment, but this is still a hell of a probably worse game just because of the records, but this is still a hell of a worse game on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, because there is always a bad game on Thanksgiving. I wouldn't call... It's a shame that they couldn't pick up another win with Flacco, to be honest with you. Even if they run the table 9-8, it's not gonna cut it in the AFC. So, but going on to Baltimore, by the way, they do not look good at all. They do not look good. Lamar looks compromised with his legs, whether it's his knee, his hamstring, calf, whatever his foot he's had an issue with. He does not look the same. His passes have not got the zip on it. And of course, when Lamar doesn't have the threat of the run there, it takes away of just who he is as just a player. So it's just, it feels like a real strange place for Baltimore to win. I mean, my God, they have to come in and win this game. They're only 6-5. The same as Pittsburgh. They've got 2 games against Pittsburgh coming up. They have to come in and win this game. It's just, they've got another game against Cincinnati again in a couple of weeks, where I'm kind of looking at that as a bit of a goose egg because Burrow's going to kind of have a couple of games under his belt there. But for me, I mean, one of the Ravens going to have a get right game, and it doesn't feel like it's coming. So for me, it's got a lot of interesting storylines. It's a shame that the Bengals are going in at 3-8, to be honest, and not even a 4-7 with a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, that part. The stars make it fun, but the game storyline isn't quite as good, is it? But yeah, you're right. If they can't get right on offense against this team, then when will it be? Because this is the worst defense, by the way, tracked in DVOA history now. The Cincinnati Bengals. So yeah, if they can't get right in this game, I'm not sure they're going to get right. But yeah, you're right. It's because of health, but also some people on offense aren't playing that well. Zay Flowers hasn't played that well. Offensive line hasn't played that well.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry seems to be more because of injuries / the offensive line, but they've still got to prove again that they can play to that level. So yeah, interesting place for them to be. It's me to go first. I'm going to go for the upset in terms of the spread anyway. Don't know if it means they'll win the game, but I'm going to go Bengals +7. I mentioned this last week and it didn't happen because he didn't play, but it'd be very Joe Burrow to come back and win a big game, score 35 points. Jamar Chase being back for this game actually probably helps that because him and Burrow have got such a good connection. Yeah, I'll go Bengals +7. Doesn't mean I think they're going to win, but I think they can keep it close enough to cover that spread.
Yeah, I'm doing the same. I'm not saying that I don't think that Cincinnati can win. I would be very worried if I was a Ravens fan, to be honest with you, with the level of play. They really struggled with the Jets, by the way, last week.
First half was really bad. Yeah, they didn't cover that spread either because it was double-digit 14 points. Yeah. Cool. On to the Black Friday game then. We'll do that one now as well because by the time we record Friday, we'll miss it. The Bears are at the Eagles. Eagles are favored at home by 7 points against an 8-win football team, which, if anyone who's just listening, Patrick pulled a face there. He's not sure about that one. We are trending, by the way. This has been a great episode and a great holiday slate. We are trending towards having 4 scores the same here, but we'll see how this game goes. What a weird game this is. Again, this is similar to the first one where I'm not sure how it could look with Caleb all over the place at times with them making big plays. The Eagles defense seems to have turned a corner, but then had some issues against, obviously, the wide receivers for the Cowboys. The Eagles started throwing it loads in the first half, scored 21 points, and then they just went back to running it nonstop, and they lose that game. What the hell is this game going to look like? You should probably know better than me.
Chaos, probably. Starting on the Eagles, I mean, what a quarter and a half when it was 21-0. I was like, here comes a Super Bowl team. It looks like it's going to be a late January, early February team. And then and the 2025 Eagles took over the rest of the game. And I was just like, I'm actually not sure what I'm watching, to be honest with you. It was like the coaches had a lobotomy and then the players kind of just forgot how to play football, to be honest. So you have to chalk that one down that that's not going to happen again. If that happens again against the Bears, then it's a very worrying sign. Problem is with the Eagles is they're so far ahead in the division that they're going to win anyway, and I hope that that's not going to take any intensity away from the team. The defense struggled with a couple of injuries on the outside corner, and unfortunately Cooper DeJean had to go to outside corner and he got shredded in the second half, to be honest with you. He is a slot guy and needs to remain there. So we kind of need to get a little bit more healthy there. But going to the Bears, I think this is the biggest game of the Bears season because you sat 8-3. Your division rivals are playing each other the day before, and you're playing a team that has looked vulnerable all season, despite the Eagles having a great record and being the 2 seed currently, challenging for the 1 seed. This is your time now to go in and win a football game. I think the Bears want to make this, a way to win is to make the game chaotic and get Caleb outside of the pocket and kind of making plays like that. If it stays within rhythm, I think the Eagles can cause turnovers like they have done the last 3 weeks, to be honest. But if they make this a chaotic game and cause a lot of issues in the Eagles' own run game and things like that, I actually think the Bears can win this game.
Yeah, I think they can win as well. I've become addicted to the Ben Johnson post-game locker room speeches, by the way.
He's turned it around there. They can win. I'd love them to make the playoffs, to be honest with you. I just need them to lose this Friday for my own sanity.
What is this, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock as well, isn't it?
England. 8 p.m.
Oh, 8 p.m. Okay.
8 p.m. Yeah.
So that would really ruin your Friday after a long week at work.
It would, yeah. Because Black Friday has always been college football's day. So when we're infringing with the NFL and it's my team, we better win.
And there's college games, I assume, at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
yeah, that'll be your second screen. But yeah, cool. This one's a bit chaotic, so we'll end our preview on that game there. I'm sure people don't want to force you to keep talking about the Eagles at the moment. It's you to go first, though, thankfully, on this one. Eagles -7. Where are we going?
Spread's too big. I'll have the Bears just in this one. Eagles, let's hope for a win. I'm not convinced.
I'm going to go opposite. Make it interesting then. I'm going to back your boys.
Wow.
I'm going to go...
I think that
Eagles
is the first time all season.
Maybe, yeah. I can't remember the last time. I'm sure I did at some point. And see Jalen Hurts. But yeah, I'm still not 100% sure about Caleb. I think he's going to... I'd be surprised if he doesn't have a turnover. I would predict 2 turnovers. And unfortunately, as boring as it is, Jalen will play in a way that doesn't get any turnovers. So I think that could be the difference. So yeah, I'll go for Eagles, but spices it up as well if I beat you on this week with your own team. So I'll go for... So that means for the 4 fun games, again, just mentioned, I've gone Eagles -7, Patrick's gone Bears +7. And then we are the same on the 3 Thanksgiving games. So we've gone Packers +2.5 against the Lions, Chiefs -3 against the Cowboys, and Bengals +7 against the Ravens. So 4 really, really fun games. We'll be back on Friday to break down those 3 Thanksgiving games, and then maybe see if Patrick's changed his mind on the Eagles spread. And then we'll also preview the rest of the weekend's games. And there's still a couple of good games on Sunday. The Thursday, Friday games are better, but there are a couple of bangers on Sunday for us to talk about. So, yeah. Enjoy your week. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Anyone who celebrates and anyone who's going to be watching all 3 of these games. Hopefully you all get some NFL merch at discounted rates. That's what we all want on Thanksgiving. And we will be back Friday. So speak to you guys soon.
I'll speak to you soon, everyone.